This probably isn't news to anybody, but it hasn't been a good millennium for the Knicks. At least for the moment. What was a true powerhouse in the 90s that reached 2 NBA finals turned into a cloud of dust. Because that Y2K effect, despite having no effect on computer systems, did seem to sentence the team to a time of irrelevance. A very long era that seemed like it would never end. But that was the case until now. The New York Knicks are in their best situation in decades. The fans are finally excited about a team that finally seems to have found its identity. Led by the always controversial Tom Thibodeau, it seems that the Knicks have finally established themselves as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. And despite the fact that Leon Rose's management's been making changes every offseason, which after all seemed risky, the general feeling is that they've improved the team season after season. Now, what many people don't seem to realize is that the reason they're closer than ever to glory is their new superstar. How's it possible that a market like New York didn't have a team to match the city's stature? They're the perfect destination for free agents. They can offer unique conditions that any player would want. However, for 20 years, they were unable to attract any talent to the city. Long gone was the era of Patrick Ewing, Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell, and a young Rick Brunson. Long gone were those playoff runs in which the Knicks, despite not winning the championship, represented a threat to any contender.
Here's Starks. John Starks with the drive.
New York hadn't had a roster of that status since those legends passed through Madison Square Garden. And no, I'm not exaggerating. From 2002 to 2022, the Knicks qualified for the playoffs only on 5 occasions. On 4 of those, they were not only eliminated, but destroyed in the first round. On the one occasion they managed to beat the Boston Celtics in 2013, who were about to blow up their team and start a rebuilding process, they were eliminated in the second round by Paul George's Indiana Pacers. Their total playoff record in that period was 8 wins and 22 losses. A completely forgettable era that was only notable for the presence of prime Carmelo Anthony, an incredibly talented player who deep down was also not capable of taking his team to the next level. Or at least, that's what time showed. The Knicks became a losing franchise. As plain and simple as that. Management was unable to take advantage of opportunities to get stars, either via trade or free agency, and instead they dedicated themselves to overpaying mediocre players who had already passed their prime. In 2015, they signed Robin Lopez to a $60 million contract over 3 seasons. In 2016, they traded him to make room for their new signing, Joakim Noah, who was in even worse physical condition.
A season left for them to turn it around.
A year later, they re-signed Tim Hardaway Jr. to a 4-year, $71 million contract. And while Tim was a good player, he was nowhere near that market value. So the exponential increase in the salary cap that the NBA experienced during the middle of the decade was like poison. It was a recipe for disaster. And that's exactly why in 2022, when the new Knicks, led by Leon Rose, offered a $104 million 4-year contract to Jalen Brunson, everyone thought it was a mistake. They believed that Jalen was going to be the straw that broke the camel's back. They believed that Jalen was going to be the next overpaid fraud who would continue to lead the franchise to mediocrity.
I don't love the Jalen Brunson signing. I think it's too much money. If anybody is that bust, to me, it's Jalen Brunson going to the Knicks.
And yes, Brunson proved that that contract was totally unfair. Because the only reality is that the former Dallas Mavericks guard deserved a max contract. Led by Brunson, the Knicks have managed to escape mediocrity and have established themselves as one of the strongest teams in the entire Eastern Conference. This is also thanks to the arrival of Tom Thibodeau, who has always instilled a strong defensive philosophy. And by the way, he's managed to make a very good transition to modern basketball, when many people didn't expect it from a coach like him. However, his signature load management seems to still be a problem. Even so, the moves the Knicks made to create a roster molded around one of the most surprising basketball minds in the world seemed perfect. Leon Rose understood what Tibbs needed, and he tried to get those pieces so that he could have free will. First, it was by reuniting the Villanova Knicks. By getting Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo, New York began to build the foundations of a scrappy team that would win games by focusing on smothering rival stars. But not happy with that, the Knicks got OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges without giving up too many player assets in the process. Although the core of the Villanova Knicks was affected by the departure of Dante, Bridges was a perfect replacement who fit in with the team's chemistry. But even so, arguably New York's most important player has arrived during this offseason. Karl Anthony Towns arrived unexpectedly. I don't think anybody would have bet a penny on that trade, right?
What was your reaction when you heard the news you were coming to New York?
Shock. More the word flabbergasted would be more correct, but...
And unexpectedly, he's also become the team leader. Cat's averaging almost 25 points, more than 13 rebounds, and more than 3 assists per night this season as a Knick. His efficiency? 53% on field goals, 44% on three-pointers, and 84% on free throws for a team-high true shooting percentage of 64%. He not only has a huge offensive load, he's extremely efficient in making use of it. Towns is also ranked 17th among the leaders in estimated plus-minus, one of the statistics that's proven to be the most accurate when evaluating a player's performance in a single number. And as if that wasn't enough, Karl's also the starter with the best net rating on the entire team, and his defensive potential's been noticed when he's on the court. In short, Towns is directly responsible for the Knicks being in third place in the East, just a few games behind the Celtics, a team that last year came close to the conference finals and that this year's gained experience to achieve its objectives. Because Leon Rose has managed to build one of the few cases of acquired talent that are capable of performing. Something that, in the modern NBA, has a lot of merit. Think of the Celtics with Tatum and Brown, or the Nuggets with Jokic, Murray, MPJ, and Christian Brown. Think of the Thunder with Williams, Holmgren, or the almost homegrown Shea. The trend in the modern league is to build a team through the draft, choosing wisely and developing your talents to the maximum potential. But if we think of the Knicks, not one key player was drafted or developed by them. Not Brunson, not Hart, not McHale, not OG, not Towns. Tibbs has managed to create this chemistry in a group of players who just shouldn't have it, beyond those who shared a locker room at Villanova. And if the Knicks manage to win the ring, or even reach the NBA Finals, they will have proven that there are different ways to create a winning roster. Now, this is a double-edged sword. New York is the NBA team with the fewest first-round picks at its disposal. The investment management's made to create an elite starting five seems like an absolute all-in. The room for maneuvering's gone now, and they've seen Towns as that differential player who can unlock the next level. Although their payroll looks good, thanks in part to factors such as the salary cut that Jalen Brunson was willing to accept, failure in this current project could send them back to indifference. But as of today, in 2025, there's no reason to think that this could happen. With a core of players who are still all under 30, New York should establish itself as a perennial force capable of fighting to win the conference season after season. Sometimes you have to take risks. It's part of life. None of the teams that have won the championship in modern basketball have done so without making key decisions. Decisions that often seem totally arbitrary, like tossing a coin. But if they're made one after the other and turn out well, they can incredibly raise the ceiling of a franchise. Time has shown us that Leon Rose had a plan. He had an idea that he wanted to make a reality. And today, his work is practically finished. He took a franchise that was going nowhere and made it find its way. And now with his final piece, the icing on the cake, the last brushstroke to create a masterpiece, there's no reason to think that they can't aspire to everything. Although many people don't believe in them,
to be honest with you, the Knicks made me want to throw up.
Knicks fans have every reason in the world to be optimistic. Time will tell if this is the correct approach.